Okay, officially live. So first things first on this very momentous occasion, let's start by just doing a toast. We never do that. So let's go ahead. I just want to give an opening cheers to everyone. So cheers for all those who are joining us for week 13 for United We Taste. We have, as you can see, a jam-packed session here today. All these amazing professionals who's going to let us jump into this pink drink. So toast to you guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.
And toast to Cha.
Cheers.
Congratulations, Cha.
Thank you.
So excited for you.
Well done.
So excited for Cherry Bomb.
Look, everybody's excited because they know I'm going to come with all the wine content. They're like, yes, let them know we're here. So welcome everybody to United We Taste. This is week 13, like I said. My name is Cha McCoy. I will be your host, sommelier from New York City, currently being quarantined in New York City, but I do live in Lisbon, Portugal. So can't wait to pick up the sessions from there. And I'm going to swing it over to my main man, Filipe. Let them know where you at, who you are.
Hello, everybody. I'm Filipe. I'm calling you from a small town called Agda in the wine region of Bairrada in Portugal. I currently work as a business consultant, and I also run a wine blog called Vinho Ishima. And I'm very excited today after 13 weeks in a row tasting wines with Cha and so many wonderful people. And today it's Rosé Day, so I'm really excited.
All right, who's going to pick up from there? Victoria?
Sure. Thanks for having me, Cha. My name is Victoria James. I'm an author and a sommelier, as well as the beverage director and partner at Cook Korean Steakhouse here in New York City.
Great. Charles?
Hello, everybody. My name is Charles Springfield. I'm a certified sommelier, wine educator, and author in New York City, in Harlem. I have a book called Maneuvering Rosé with Style. Sorry, Maneuvering Rosé with Style. It's brand new, coming out in a couple of weeks. So thank you so much, Cha, for having me.
Yeah, Charles is a repeat offender, so we're glad to have him back. And he got 2 books. That's the reason why he's confused. He's mixing the titles in between the two. So great. Everybody get Charles' book as well. Let's see. Let me have the Yes Way Rosé team. Nikki?
Hi, I'm Nikki from Yes Way Rosé. I live in Brooklyn normally. I'm quarantined in Maryland with my parents right now.
So you know the struggle.
And Erica and I, founded Yes Way Rosé together. We're best friends, and now we're separated bi-coastally.
Yes, I'm Erica, other co-founder of Yes Way Rosé. I'm currently in Los Angeles, California, where I was planning to relocate and was here during the beginning of quarantine, and now I'm just kind of staying here for the time being.
Quarantine has helped you figure out the LA life, I guess, more than you thought you would.
I mean, I haven't gone too far, but I am enjoying it.
Great. Glad to hear you say so. And Zwann?
Yes, so very same with Erica. Brooklyn wine buyer and wine director, quarantining in LA and soaking it all up.
Taking all the sun. When you get back to Brooklyn, it's going to be here, but you got it early, which is a good thing. You know?
Right. We'll see.
And then we have Mr. Donae.
Yes. How are you? My name is Donae Burston. I am the founder and CEO of the Fête de Rosé, Rosé wine from Côte Provence.
Awesome. So for those of you who may be new to my channel or to United We Taste, basically it's a virtual tasting group. And so I like using the movie Uncorked as an example, because most people now have seen it recently. And now if you haven't yet, go back and watch that on Netflix. But there's this one scene where he's in class and he actually get invited. So sometimes it could be with some friction in the classroom, someone that's like a competitor of yours, if you want to say. And sometimes it's amongst friends, but mainly it's people that's in the industry, tasting together, learning about wine together, usually trying to come up with some surprises for each other. If you go back and watch the French episode, no one guessed the wine right. So you'll see what I mean. And so it's interesting to see where people in the industry is going. So whether they're retailers, wine writers, buyers, or sommeliers, you can see what they're geeked out about when they come to the tasting room, because it's almost like when a chef gets to leave its restaurant, the restaurant, because they get to cook whatever they want at home, you know. So when we're in the tasting room, like, oh, this is what I'm geeked out about, but I can never probably put this on the floor because the customer won't understand it sometimes. So this is a cool way for us to connect virtually during these times of the pandemic, and with peers from around the world. We've had every country now, I think every major wine country so far we've covered, to the point we've run out, and now we've moved to rosés. So thanks for you who've been sticking in and following along. And for if you geeked out about any country, Austria to New Zealand, California, go right back and watch one of the recap videos and see the diverse group that we had in the room. All right, so we're gonna start out with tasting. I usually start with the questions, but we're gonna jump right into it. And so all of our wines, if you are interested after hearing our lovely description, you can find right on the website where you found this link. So I'm gonna actually start out with Victoria. Let's go ahead and have you taste your wine. And I believe you and Charles have the same wine. So actually you both will go, you'll tag team this tasting.
Okay, Charles. All right, so this is my first time on this United We Taste amazing group together, so thank you for having me. I am, along with Charles today, tasting Andre Mac's amazing Love Drunk Rosé. And this is a delicious wine. Andre Mac, I'm sure everyone knows, he's a star sommelier in his own right. He used to run the beverage program at Per Se here in New York, which is a 3 Michelin starred restaurant. And then he got into winemaking and had access to this amazing fruit. And so this is one of my favorite sommelier turned winemaker stories. And it comes from McMinnville in Oregon, this specific wine. Really fresh, and it's a mixture of Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And yeah, so the thing I love most about this wine is its texture. It's really oily and waxy and savory. And I think sometimes in wine, we don't talk about bitterness enough. And this is something Eric Asimov really often says. And I find it quite pleasant in wine. And it has this really nice saline bitterness to it, which is very important to a sommelier. It makes it delicious with food. And Charles, I'll let you add on as well so we can tag team this.
Oh, so I actually made a last minute substitution because I didn't want to step on your toes. So actually, I got by Domaine Arts, so a very classic Provence rosé.
Oh no, Charles, we're gonna let you wait then.
Okay.
Go ahead, Victoria. Go ahead. You was talk us through the alcohol, the acid, what's on the nose, and then tell us like a food pairing then.
Yeah, absolutely. So first and foremost, the site as well, as you guys can probably all see from here. This is a light colored rosé. And in my book, Drink Pink, which is right here, I do a wine tasting with some sommeliers and masters of wine. And we serve the rosé in black glasses and we blindfold them. And it's not just rosé, it's also red wine and white wine. And I just ask them to identify the color of the wine. And most of them can't do it. So what it goes to show you is that don't be hung up on the color. I think a lot of people think that if it's a lighter colored wine, it's lighter in body or lighter in alcohol. And those two don't necessarily, or those three don't necessarily have correlation. So yes, this is a lighter skin color of rosé, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything to do with sweetness, dryness, and also as well, alcohol. However, here on the nose, we get lots of fresh fruit, strawberries, cherries, pomegranates, and this really nice saline quality as well. And then on the palate, it's incredibly refreshing, really bright, sharp acidity, medium plus to high. The alcohol also is moderate. We're looking at around 12 to 12 and a half here, which is really great. And he picks a little bit earlier to preserve that freshness as well. And it's completely dry. It has like 0.2 grams per liter of residual sugar. And the human palate can detect around 9 to 10 grams, maybe 7 grams per liter if you're an expert taster. So this is definitely a dry rosé. And then it has a little slight phenolic tannic bitterness, which again, I find quite savory and awesome. And classic pairing, one of my all-time favorites pairings with rosé is super easy, even for those of you watching who can't cook or don't want to cook after a long day. Radishes dipped in butter and salt, the most delicious thing ever. Cheers.
The butter, like, so it's like melted butter that you just.
Like kind of butter that you've had on the counter for a while, so it's soft. And then you just dip it in, and then you put a little sprinkle of like sea salt on it. It's so good.
Nice. I like that idea. Thanks, Victoria. And thanks, Andre. I know the wine. I've had it. I'm gonna say, I know Filipe. I know you haven't had it. But anybody else had Love Drunk yet?
Oh yeah, I've had it this week. When I did my call with Bruno, we were talking about rosé, so I did my Love Drunk. So I was gonna repeat it, and I saw Victoria had it, so I was like, let her have that. Because last time I saw Victoria was with Andre Mac at her restaurant.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he did a Magnum Monday pour. He does amazing wines in Magnum, especially his Pinot Noir. And I do want to shout this out. If you're in New York, you can buy it at Happy Cork in Brooklyn as well.
I think, didn't you have him at Olmsted do, like, you did a Monday tasting? Like, I'm like, I don't even live in New York, but I know what's going on in the streets, you know? Because I know when I'm missing out. I'm always like,
on the falls.
I wish I
We
was
had
in New
him
York.
there just to kind of be in the garden, like a Somm space takeover by the glass flight pours of multiple cuvées of his. He just is so vibrant and cool. It just was great to have him in the garden. People came from far and wide because he was there, and it was a lot of fun. That's Brother Space. Mad love for Andre for sure.
Yes.
Awesome.
Also,
All right,
one
we're
of
gonna-
the best label designs. I love.
Oh,
the look
yeah.
of the
Art
label.
is
So
sick.
good. As a designer, that's like, one of my favorite parts of that wine. For sure.
Great. Zwann, go ahead and pick up with yours.
Okay, so La Caravelle Rosé Champagne. We all know this wine and we love it because we love Rita. And Rita sent me this because they're actually doing a rosé call at the same time. And she was gracious enough to send this as a way to say, join that call. And we realized we had the call at the same time. And my wine is still in transit. It was supposed to be here yesterday, but not. So this is Rita, and this is what she does, and this is what her energy does. It works things out in the most loving way. So this is La Caravelle Champagne. They had La Caravelle restaurant, iconic classic restaurant in New York. It closed in 2004. And so Rita, who is originally from Lebanon and Iraq, and her husband Andre had a love for champagne and decided to oversee champagne making. So they have three.
Not the same Andre. Anybody who's not the same Andre we just finished talking
Oh,
about.
not the same Andre. No, this is not the same Andre. No, different Andre, who also is a sweetheart. But they collectively are a dynamic duo. But Rita, coming from this restaurant space, has a complete and utter understanding of food, wine, restaurants, hospitality, and she's a great listener and supporter. And so in kind, we support this champagne. So this is Rosé Champagne. This is from Epernay. We're about 130 kilometers northeast of Paris. And this is a blend. I have all my notes here because it's 9 a.m. and I was like, I might forget some stuff. 40% Chardonnay, 30% Pinot and Noir, and 30% Pinot Meunier. The three grapes that go into champagne. And here's the color. What I like about this one is it's affordable. So on the list, it's not, when you're looking in the champagne section, you can anticipate higher price points. This one, I think we had on in the $90 range on the Olmsted list, which I actually have right here next to me and look at often. What I'm getting is definitely a space of a little bit more depth. It's not the most sharp on the nose. Sometimes we put our nose in champagne specifically, it'll be a piercing sensation. This has been open for a little bit, so the bubbles are still consistent. It's still very lively, but there's a little bit more of a kind of a mellow tone to it, kind of a rocking place for me in my palate. That being said, there is some dark cherry, some, again, pomegranate note, as Victoria brought up. I definitely get red currant from it. And a very soft palate sensation. Again, the bubbles is the same on the palate as it is on the nose, where it's not hyper aggressive. Everything's very integrated. It's very juicy. Clearly, I'm like having a reaction to the deliciousness. But it is pushing on that savory. It's not the most light, bright, sprightly rosé. Sometimes we think rosé, again, we think pale pink, lean, bracing acidity, lots of, austerity. This one is definitely rounded out, fleshed out. There's some body on it. And again, really good texture, soft bubbles, and lots of red fruit.
Awesome. I'm going to switch some things up, and don't worry, that happens organically through this. I'm going to ask Nikki, what food would you want to pair Zwann's champagne with?
I'm trying to channel my inner Rita, but I feel like she eats a lot better than I do.
What would Rita eat? What would Rita eat?
Oh Lord, that's a good question.
That's a good one. It sounds like potentially, maybe like a heartier meal. If it's a little more juicy and full-bodied for a champagne. Let's go with maybe like foie gras.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
we just raised the sophistication level of this whole experience. What about just a little foie gras?
What would okay.
What about your food at quarantine? I don't think I'm getting foie gras.
That's true.
What's your quarantine meal? And then, you tell me foie gras, I'm gonna come through the screen and fly wherever you at.
My quarantine meal?
Yeah, for this ship, I need a quarantine alternate to the foie gras. That's what I'm saying.
Well, okay, so I've been making this seafood pasta, this shrimp pasta. That was like something that my mom always made growing up. It has some white wine in it, garlic, lots of garlic shallots, like really just delicious, buttery, Parmesan-y, shrimpy pasta. That's what I would pair with it, that I've been making here at home.
I agree.
I'll take it.
Thanks.
She's like, oh, what about a little foie gras? I'm like, uh-oh, come on now. Ain't nobody got no foie gras. Pandemic. All right, so I'm going to swing it over to, who's going to talk about Yes Way Rosé? Erica, Nikki, are y'all going to tag team it? What's going on? Oh, you have two different ones. I forgot.
Yeah, I have our still line.
Yeah, and she has the sparkling. All right, go ahead, Erica.
She has the bubbles, and it's IGP Mediterranean, Grenache based with Syrah and So, and we travel to the south of France every year, and work with our team to make a rosé that we can say is very Yes Way, and we try to we're inspired by the rosés that made us fall in love with rosé in the first place, and like the reason, because Nikki and I we didn't know anything about wine before we started Yes Way Rosé, and then when we discovered dry French rosé from the south of France, we were like, oh my God, this is so beautiful and so easy to drink. And then it changed our lives as we are, now here. And we were both working in the fashion industry then. So the color is very important to us because we were, really obsessed with how it's so it's like that perfect pink color that you see in fashion, which we both worked in, kind of like corsets and lingerie and just like this French pink that you can't really capture. So it's a very pale, pretty pale, light pink. It's I can already tell it's very bright and energetic, and it's like youthful. It makes me it tastes like something I should be drinking at 9 a.m. or whatever time it is here,
my kind of party.
It feels like when I was a kid and you jumped out of bed in the morning, which I don't do anymore, but it reminds me of that. Stone fruit and red fruit and citrus. Okay, let's. It's very dry, which we
Clearly
like.
it's tart. I saw your mouth moving like,
Yeah, and then tart.
like gasping for air like an astronaut. You were like, no, but that's good. Nice acidity.
Yeah, nice acidity.
It's 12.5% alcohol.
Yeah, strawberries, white peach, and a little bit of like a hint of like a watermelon candy vibe, you know.
Are you getting, is there any, I know you said on the nose there was some citrus. Is there any citrus on the palate as well?
Lemon in there.
Oh, okay.
It's fresh and delicious, and it's dangerous that I have a bottle open at this hour.
What's the, is it more, and I think, you know, it's so funny. I was listening to Donae's interview with Carmelo Anthony with his wine. And so he had mentioned about like art. So if we want to look at the two various, like the extremes. So if like art is very full, and sometimes people get a little confused because they think because it looks so light, and then they have one with all this alcohol and it's so fatty. So I've never had your rosé, but I hear I will be having it soon. But just let me know, is that the feel of yours? Is yours more towards that art style where it's higher? I mean, I know you said it's 12% alcohol, but is it following that path, or is it more like light, zesty, easy going?
I think it's a light and easygoing rosé. I honestly haven't had Ott in a long time. Nikki and I actually went to the vineyard and met Mr. Ott on our first trip to France ever. So, God, I wish I could like remember. It was, you know, this very magical experience for us, and we were like, we have to make our own rosé one day, you know. But I mean, I remember those from, if my memory serves me right, they were also like very easy drinking and soft.
You should retaste. I think they have a lot of, and maybe now because when you first had it, you probably was comparing it to other things. Now, I'm sure your palate is way different from that first visit. You know, a lot of them tend to be a lot more oily, more rounder than the others. And so you need to find a rosé. And usually people assume because ones are darker, they're going to be the one that's going to be fuller. And so when you find one that's like light but darker, people are confused. I think this trick that Victoria is doing, I think she's onto something. Like give people blacked out glasses to really see like how their mind is really playing tricks on them when it comes to rosé. Because I really think that's the main thing here. It's like a lot of people just jaded out. And if you haven't watched the documentary on Amazon Prime, it's on rosé. I believe it is Amazon Prime. Oh, it's worth watching. It's hilarious what they do. They got the scientists in the room, you know, using white wines, but turning it pink just to trick people, just to see what they'll say. They're like, oh, strawberries in the glass and all this other stuff. And the whole time it's like, I don't know, Riesling. But I think that is just funny to like see how much the color is fooling everybody and not allowing people to, let's say, unbiased opinion about the wine. So thanks, Erica. And let's see if who's going to give us a pairing for Erica's wine. No, if I call you, you're going to be mad. So go ahead.
I'll go. I'll give a pairing.
Okay.
So we were talking earlier about like not so classic pairings. And for me, one of my favorite pairings with rosé is actually red meat, because if you have something that's really, really rich and powerful with something that's also rich and powerful, it can be overpowering. So I love serving rosé at Côte, and I think that your Yes Way rosé would be delicious with grilled cuts of steak. It's perfect for summer.
I agree. Thanks, Victoria.
You heard it here first. When you see it on the menu, it's because I made it happen. Okay, everybody? Awesome. Charles, I know I put you on ice because I know you was ready to jump in there with your, so go ahead. I'm gonna let you pick up.
Sure. No, so I saw that Victoria was gonna do Love Drunk, so I didn't want to step on her toes. And then since it's all about Provence for the most part, I did decide to go to Domaine Ott, but I got the more entry level wine. It's about $20. It's called Bayat from Domaine Art. And so the reason why I chose this wine is, well, here's the bottle. I chose it because, of course, it's a classic Provence Rosé. Domaine Art has about 3 chateaus, 2 in the Côte de Provence area and 1 in Bandol. So I think a lot of people are familiar with the Bandol style of rosé, which is kind of big, creamy, a little bit more expensive, definitely ageable. So the one I have is mostly Grenache based, about 60%. It's on the medium side. The alcohol is a little bit higher than I would think, 13.5. So it has this little bit of a bite to it. So here's the color of it. It's actually really nice. It's like, what I say, like a rose gold, light copper, kind of onion skin in color. So pretty traditional for the Provence color, maybe like a little bit more of that copper color that some people like it really pale, but this has a little nice tinge of color to it. On the palate, I get a lot of, it's super dry, but I get a lot of like faint, like peach skin, dry cranberries, and I get this kind of like almost like pink peppercorn kind of spiciness. But I also get like a spiciness when it comes to, if you think about like if you burn paper or wood and you need to throw it up, douse it with water, and that kind of wet smokiness. That's kind of what I get in this rosé as well. It's kind of spicy in the peppercorn way, but also almost like a slightly smoky way, which makes it really, really interesting. And since I chose this too, because I love Andre Mac, of course, but this is classic to Provence. Marcel Ott, he bought up some land in the late 1800s when phylloxera was hitting that area. So bought up a lot of land pretty cheaply and really kind of rebuilt Provence in a way that made Domaine Art very classic. I think 1936, it was kind of demanded worldwide for rosé, and then like found in the best hotels and restaurants from Saint-Tropez to Michelin-star restaurants. So this is why I kind of did a little little switch at the last minute, just kind of give them some love, but also kind of diversify the tasting and let everybody kind of do their own kind of taste.
All right. I think Charles actually described his wine like it was food. So I think this is probably the easiest one. He said, I'm just gonna just tell you what you should put in the ingredients and you tell me the name of the dish. So who's gonna give us the pairing for Charles' wine? What they have with Charles' wine?
Well, what comes to mind for me is, and this might be, it's just off the cuff, but grilled pork chop, classic pork chop bone in. I think the fact of the meatiness, I want to taste pork with the pink peppercorn. And I think that the acidity and what it's giving you on the palate would kind of freshen up that bite of meat. As it stands, like what is done to the pork chop, I really don't know. But I think grilled pork chop and that rosé would be a good, just as 2 actual components to like taste and have something wash the bite down would be really nice.
I think
that pairing already. I think that's a home run.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Donae, you ready?
I am ready. Yes.
Ready. We ready for the party. We ready for the rosé party, right?
The Fête de Rosé, yes. But first of all, I want to apologize because I am quarantined in a hotel in Miami and I have a plastic cup, which I know is sacrilegious.
Ooh, shade. We're going to X out his camera right now. Shade, all types of shade. I'm sitting here.
Service to bring up some glasses, and this hotel is like not really working right now. So I apologize for that. But here's the beautiful bottle, which is Le Fête de Rosé.
I'd rather you chunky. No. Before you use that plastic shame, that plastic cup. Lord, Zwann, can you tell him we shaded him from afar?
I saw that cup and I was like, you know what?
Yes.
Oh, we got it.
Oh,
we got.
I had to.
Oh, we got.
But for that reason, I won't show it again.
Out of this.
For whatever reason, I won't show it again. Show us the bottle. Continue to keep showing the bottle.
I will show you the bottle for sure.
Yes.
And I will go from my memory. I am not the winemaker, first and foremost. The wine is definitely a negociant. Made in conjunction with Domaine Ballou, who is the largest and oldest winery on the Saint-Tropez Peninsula. They've been making great rosés, mostly estate labeled for the last 60 years. We struck up a great partnership. And when I went there, specifically, I wanted something that was in between art and not so Whispering Angel. Because for me, in my taste palette, I didn't want something so lively and so acidic. And I definitely didn't want that big, full-bodied rosé as well, the way I can only have one glass and then I'm ready to move on to something else. So with Le Fête de Rosé, it's in my opinion, the middle of the road. Again, the color, like Charles mentioned, is definitely a little more copper salmon colored. That is not to insinuate in any way that it is heavier or even sweet, which I get a lot as well when people see the color. For me, on the nose, you definitely get a lot of lively fruit. What you don't get is when you take your first sip, you don't get that acidic attack that you get a lot of times with the 90 to 100% Grenache rosés. It has some acid, but not super. You don't get a lot of alcohol initially. The ABV is about 12.5%, but you do get tannins and you do get a little spiciness on the finish, which tends to be a little longer than most other rosés in the marketplace. The terroir, again, it's 80% Grenache, 14% Mourvedre, and 6% Syrah. So the color is, again, more skin contact, longer tannins, but you also get a lot more of the Syrah and Mourvedre in the blend, despite it being 80% Grenache based.
Did you mention it's medium body? I know you said you didn't want it to be too light body or full, so would you consider it medium?
Yeah, I would consider medium body for sure. It's not light, but it's definitely not to the other end of the extreme. So it has a little more body to it, which for me also, as we try to change the conversation around rosé being able to be paired with food, was super important as well. For me to have a wine that did have some sort of structure and some body to it.
Well, you got some friends here, so don't worry. We all think you should go with food, and this is why we're making a moment to celebrate rosé with food today. Everybody got their bottles open early on YouTube, etc., and hopefully they can have it for their lunch or breakfast or their brunch moment for today. So let's see, Filipe, you're gonna pick up. What's your pairing for Donae's Provence Saint-Tropez rosé?
Yeah, that was a nice description, Donae.
Thank you.
When you were talking about, I was just imagine a summer afternoon with my friends grilling some seafood. So I think it would pair very well with seafood. I think the structure that you mentioned can goes very well with fat fish mostly. And the acidity sounds perfect for that. So I would definitely pair with that.
Awesome.
You know what, Filipe, I was waiting for you to pick up on something that we have nice and special in Portugal, and you didn't go there. What about our Scarlet Prawns? I feel like the Scarlet Prawns of Portugal, in this, home run. Right off the grill, it's like baby lobsters. It's like,
That's another perfect pairing, yeah.
They don't even pair, they just do salt and maybe pepper at most, but it's normally just add some olive oil and then just put it straight on there. Scarlet Prawns, they're
drops of
bright
lemon.
red.
That's it.
Squeeze a lemon. We got to make it happen for you, Donae. This is
it's going to be on the website as a pairing dish now.
We got to get you some Scarlet Prawns. This is, and they even, if it's really seasoned up, if it's not just straight off the grill, they even do it in styles in restaurants in Portugal called Mozambique and Shrimp. And so Filipe spent some time in Mozambique as well. And so you can get the flavors and textures of the spices, obviously from the trade routes that left its mark there in Mozambique. And so the Scarlet Prawns, or even the big tiger prawns that they have there with all the curries and spices that they have, is going to be awesome.
That sounds fantastic.
He's like, I'm sold.
Yeah.
Zwann wants some too. All right, let's see. Who else? Who didn't talk about their wine? Filipe, me, and then we got the sparkling from Nikki. Okay. Go ahead, Nikki.
Hi. Okay. So I have our sparkling Pièce Rosé here, which I need to pour a little bit more of, so I can do this.
Me too. Keep the party going.
Yeah, keep the party going.
And,
I'm not a sommelier, so I'm a little intimidated. I think Erica, great job. I don't have any like burnt paper, wet.
Wait. If you got that, then the wine is bad. Send the wine back, okay?
But this is our bubbles. It's also from the south of France. It is 100% Grenache. It's brut. It's really dry. really crisp, just really refreshing. And this is like the perfect kind of bubbles for anything, not just for special occasions type thing, like pairing with food, drinking all summer. This one is a little, you can see it's like a little more yellow. This is, I think, an older bottling. We just had these minis come out, and you can see like this one's already a little pinker because this is more fresh, but it is like a little floral with apricot and like grapefruit zest, like pretty citrusy and just very refreshing and delicious. The bubbles, can you see? Yeah, so that was we love having both the still and bubbles in our collection so that we can mix it up sometimes.
I think it's great too, because I was about to say, I usually don't see sparkling, and I don't know if it's me, I just don't see too many sparklings coming from the Provence region. So, so I just thought that, the fact me and Zwann both have champagne, you have a sparkling, but it's actually from Provence. Is that, I haven't been, one day soon. I can have that moment that you all had. So between the three of you who have been, unless somebody else went without me. Okay, I think so. Okay. Between the three of you who have been, I just want to use this moment. Can you just talk about sparkling rosés from Provence? Is that a thing?
Well, it doesn't have an appellation, our wine at least. So it's from like sourced from different regions in the southern France area. I'm not sure that we could say like it's from Provence in a kind of an appellation way, but that's the area where it's from. It's
but when you're there, do you see a lot of sparkling when you're on the ground? Like, I know we may not get it here in the US market, but
you don't see it as much, but I think that like our bubbles kind of feels like the equivalent of kind of like the everyday sipping, like dry rosé that like makes it, kind of very accessible, and like the kind of thing that, like Nikki and I eat it with like pizza and takeout, I had it last night with like Night Market song, like in Los Angeles, and it was the perfect pairing. And it was, we kind of discovered that early on, and Yes, a Rosé, before we had our own sparkling, we were, discovering that we could drink champagne like in a more casual way, but we wanted to do it on a non-champagne, but we didn't have champagne budgets, at the time, like to afford.
There we go. Now we get to somewhere.
We really wanted that, like, that vibe of like this, of this delicious, like bubbly, but that we could open on like a Monday night and not,
like,
thought about it.
$16 to $18 probably. I think it's probably becoming more popular from what I'm seeing, but just as more people drink more sparkling beverages, period.
Yeah, I think it's taking off now. And I think these ladies were definitely the first to release their brand worldwide, or nationally, I should say. And now you have Mirabal, now who has announced they're doing a sparkling as well. And I know our domain as well is doing a sparkling. So I think you'll see a lot more still houses move towards sparkling. And one of the real reasons as well is because there's a great shortage coming about as more and more people want to make rosé wine, so they can start to just pull stuff from everywhere and put some fermentation into it and release it. But they were definitely probably the market leaders in that, and now you have Mirabal and some others coming along.
Yeah, and if I can interject too, a lot of people don't know this fun fact, but sparkling wine in France actually started in the South in the 1600s, in the West by the Spanish border, in the Languedoc, and in Provence, there's so many small houses, so there's not a lot of financial availability for them to make sparkling wines. It's an expensive production. And so definitely to Donae's point as well, like you're starting to see some of these larger negociant houses that are investing in this, actually something that's historic for the South, which is kind of cool. So it's like retro almost. It's a throwback.
Yeah, I think the two of you picked up exactly where I was going, and was highlighting the fact that that's what makes the Yes Way Rosé sparkling special, is because in the market, if you go to a wine shop tomorrow, if you're going to see sparkling from France, it's going to be a Cremant from, you know, XYZ. I even talked about a Cremant de Loire on cherry bomb drinks that I love, like Bouvet from Loire. So, you know, they're using Cabernet Franc. If yours is not listed as Cremant, like, you know, it's almost like we need like an alternate, because those can tend to be a little bit more expensive too, compared to a Prosecco or a, you know, like something that's even more affordable. And so this may be an opportunity for rosés who coming from Provence, because people already associate that area for rosé. So you may be able to take over a larger market share, because it's like, oh, people first think rosé, Provence, and now they're making sparkling in the market. And so if you didn't realize it already, I think you guys can like really dominate before everybody else get here, this ability of being a more of the affordable sparkling version of rosé from the area that's known for rosés, you know, versus other places making rosés like Champagne, like Loire, that are known for other things, not so much for their rosés. So that was just something I wanted to.
We love being one step ahead of Brangelina at all times.
One step ahead of Brangelina.
I'm joining you next year, so you'll see me as well.
Oh, you heard him? Watch out for Donae. He's bringing his sparkling next year, he said. So
Can't wait to try it. Can't wait to try it.
Awesome. Filipe, go ahead. Pick up we got our Portuguese sparklings. Portuguese rosé.
Rosé, yeah. So I bring you a local wine from my region, Bairrada. This is from the producer, Cabo São João. They are celebrating 100 years this year. So this is a different style of rosé. Don't get me wrong, I love easy drinking rosés, but this is the one that got my attention a few months ago. And since then, I've been drinking like a crazy guy. So I would like to share with you this rosé. This is 50% Baga, which is a local grape here in Bairrada, and the other 50% Pinot Noir. And this wine has 12% alcohol, and it has been on lease with batonnage for 8 months. So it is a different style of rosé, as I mentioned. A stronger structure that the ones that I used to drink on a daily basis, but I'm really enjoying it. It's very elegant, very complex at the same time. So if you look at the color, it's very pale salmon color. So that's pretty much it. On the nose, you can find fresh red fruits and also some hints of herbal. The mouth, very elegant, crisp acidity, but again, very balanced between the fruit and the acidity. I love the finish, great long finish. It's one of the things that I love of this wine. It's a very distinctive wine. You get the freshness of a white wine, but at the same time, you have a very good structure, like a red wine. A very gastronomic wine that would pair very well with seafood or even with some lean meats. So really excited. Unfortunately, this is a small batch producing. They only make around 2,000 bottles a year, but still they are making very success with this. And well, in Portugal, the rosé wave is getting also very interesting. People are getting fond of rosés, not only the easy drinkers, but this kind of rosés with more structure, more complex, at the same time, very elegant. So cheers to you.
Cheers. So now it's funny because I'm gonna let Charles do the pairing for this one, mainly because I heard Charles, you and my brother Bruno talking about, oh my gosh, Matish. And so for those who look, no, Filipe, please no. Basically, if you don't know what it is, I understand, I guess respectfully have to understand. It's almost like if I told you all, because we're all Americans, except for Filipe, but it's almost if I told you, oh, I'm gonna bring rosé barefoot to your house. I think you all like, child, just keep the barefoot, okay? That's basically what I just said. And so this brand is, yeah, You could get like a bottle like this big and it's like €8. That's like, so just to give you an idea. You find it in like the, I don't know, the market at the, when you're pumping gas. Like this place is not, this is not the one you're gonna like go out your way to go find, but I understand it had its moment in history. I'm gonna let Charles go ahead and pick up about that because I think that him and Bruno had a moment to talk about that and how he's exploring that in his book as well that's coming out this month. But I do want you to understand, Matish is not the rosé of choice.
Right.
It's like Kool-Aid with alcohol. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
So
it's funny because it had its moments, like right after World War II, it was really popular. Even if you go to YouTube, you can see some of those commercials about the wine. And actually, funny, I'm gonna do the pairing.
I found this in a vintage shop in Lisboa when I was there. It's old school.
Yes. In the
Old
squat
school
bottle.
indeed.
like I almost want to cry. Like, please bring people don't get it. Put the label all the way up to the camera.
Can you see it?
Look, Matish. You see the name right at the top?
Yeah.
That's the original version. What? And so they still have these bottles, which is crazy, but you can't see. Look at she's like proud. Like, I'm glad he said something. Look, I had it. No, I'm super stoked. Like, the crazy part is that if you see, I now feel like I need to Google and show you what this damn thing looked like today. It looked like Kool-Aid, but it's in the same shape. So the bottle has remained signature to it as well, which is a whole nother discussion about rosés that we can have, is these new Provence style perfume bottles too. So it's funny that
Victoria has a bottle.
I'm not throwing
We had an email once, like the best email we got was like from a man who said like, "Hi, I'm an old man. Like I only ever knew about Matus and I discovered your wine and now like, I'm so happy I tried something new." Or he said something about it.
like, where are you living that the only
My
rosé
grandmother used to drink it. My grandmother used to
hills of
drink it.
Portugal? Like, what is going on? Nikki, don't drink it. I want you to live.
No,
it.
my grandmother used to drink it along with like her white Zinfandel, all
Oh,
those.
so everybody knows. Oh, okay. I didn't know what it was until I landed in Portugal.
I mean,
And
a long time ago. She's now, of course, maybe drinks a little too much. Yes, my rosé, but this was back in the day, long before I was born. She loves some Matus.
Along
look at
with
that.
the port wine, Mateus has been the ambassador for Portuguese wines for many years. You must know, Charles and Victoria, you know the story. Even today, they sell over 20 million bottles a year worldwide. And it's a long
Rosé.
story.
Remember, this is just rosé.
They've been around for a while, and they have the merit of opening the doors for rosés, of today's rosés. The styles are different. We don't discuss that, of course, but they have the merit because they have opened the door for rosé many years ago, and they still sell it a lot. And I have a funny story to share with you. It's about the Apollo 8 mission to the moon. And according to some records, the astronaut, let me know, Frank Borman, when the mission was a success, he informed Houston and said, "Houston, we have a problem. There's no Mateus." So on the records, I think Victoria knows the story and also Charles, but just to let you know that Mateus played an important role on all these rosé wave.
Wow.
Absolutely.
You can always count on a Portuguese coming in with some historical facts that is not relevant to no one else's life. No, I just want to let you know that we had a place in history. Do not forget us. It is always funny because they're like, yes, I want to let you know it was us that kept the morale up for the astronauts when they was like,
Morale high.
Filipe. Charles, you think you got away? I need you to do this pairing, okay?
Yeah, so no, the pairing, it sounds like a really dynamic rosé. The alcohol seems moderate, but it has lees aging. You say yeast with it, so it seems like a little bit richer. So the first thing I think about is like lemon roasted chicken with some herbs. because I think that's the richness can stand up against a little bit of roast or baked chicken, a little bit of herbs, and maybe some root vegetables, potatoes and carrots, chopped up kind of nicely with a little fresh herbs on top, and nice dossal of lemon juice. So I think that'll be kind of fun with that. The other alternative would be like wild salmon with asparagus.
Wild salmon with asparagus. I'm gonna take that one. I like that one. And I think the funny
Perfect.
part is because the wild salmon, the pink, the redness of it, even if it's just, even if it's just us and our eyes, it's gonna help us like, yeah, this is a win. This looks like a rosé dish, right? So
Yeah.
I like that too. All right, I'm the last one left. I'll be quick because I want us to get into the questions. So I'm having the lovely Stuyvesant Rosé. Ooh, too much light. Sorry, but I'm having Stuyvesant Champagne. Entrepreneur, negociant from Brooklyn. She is new to the scene, the wine scene, but I love her humility and her appreciation for champagne. And you can tell that that's where it stemmed from. So I was lucky enough to connect with her during quarantine. And so I didn't realize that this was gonna last this long, meaning like we connected earlier during quarantine, and now I actually have it all the way to make it to June, but I'm glad I did so I can have it for this moment. Just before I get into the tasting notes, just understand her story. She definitely aspires to open her own champagne bar in New York City. And so in order for her to have a deeper connection, instead of just opening the bar first, she went out and actually sorted out what kind of champagnes or learn about the styles. And so she started visiting the region and actually became partners with one of the top winemakers. Let's see, I think she does say it in the back, sorry. LaCroix. So, and not to be confused with the sparkling water. And so when you hear from her or when you hear about her story, it's almost like that local hero story. She is from Bedford Stuyvesant, so she wanted her champagne to be named Stuyvesant to represent where she's from. And the champagne itself was not about her being geeked out about champagne, but just kind of the lifestyle and the idea of, home of Biggie, we have the whole, I drink champagne when I'm thirsty. We have that as our motto when we think about Biggie Smalls too. And she always tells a story about how she wasn't able to afford champagne. And so even though these champagnes are still champagne prices, I can tell you right now, it was just it's the affinity for that. I guess it's kind of like when you finally like level up. When you went from not being able to afford their champagne, meaning the big companies, the Moeds, the Dom Perignons, and like struggling just to like put money together to share a bottle, as she say, with her friends, to saying, you know what, this is, people always ask me too, how do you know when you're successful? You're always working, you always doing new things. And I could tell from her story, it was when she has her own champagne brand. And so this is like a good small town hero moment for her. And so I'm excited to share Stuyvesant champagne with you all. So let's go ahead and taste. I've been feeling for the mousse because I actually had her Blanc de Blanc on when I did the virtual tasting for wine enthusiasts. So this is my first time having rosé. Nice cream, which I love. I always love when it's not like an attack with the bubbles, when it's nice and creamy and I can feel it and I'm like, oh yes. I feel like my mouth has its own bubble bath going on. It's like the perfect moment. But it immediately is the sharpness afterwards. This is my first wine for the day. It cut, now that I've had a couple of sips or two, I can tell you that the acidity is definitely like medium to moderate. I'm sorry, I didn't talk about the color. I liked what Victoria did earlier with the hand, but you can see it has this nice, cool, it's salmon, but it's more like on a orange note than anything. So it has this nice wild salmon color compared to the fresh salmon we normally see. But creaminess on the palate, the sharpness is not as acidic on the first attack, but once you ease into it, it's very comfortable. I would say that the first taste I got was almost like cranberry orange ocean spray. So it has this nice moment of both being red fruit and also this orange or citrus fruit going to. And so then it made me think about blood orange. And so this is like, that was the perfect like taste that I got on the palate. Then it was like this pink notes that was outstanding when I started thinking about food to pair with. So I got this Himalayan pink salt flavor on the finish that allowed me to also connect with the chalkiness of the soil from the region. And I didn't mention earlier, it's the three grapes of Champagne, mainly dominant in Pinot Noir, and then Pinot Meunier, and a small amount of Chardonnay on the end. I immediately picked up on the nose. Sorry, I'm talking all out of order, but it smelled like the skins of halos, you know, the little tangerines. I'm sure everybody knows the halos because the commercials these days. So it actually smelled like that skin peeling. And then you do have that Himalayan pink salt as well on the nose. So I would say the texture is way more comfortable after the first sip, but it definitely feels good by itself. You don't need the food. I mean, originally I was thinking about something like a watermelon, you know, the Greek salad, the watermelon salad with mint leaves and the feta cheese. If you was gonna have something as like an aperitif with it, and maybe you might as well be cute because the orange, and then like slice some oranges into that salad too, or instead of spraying it with lemon on top, spray it with fresh orange juice. I think that will allow it to play both together as an aperitif, but when it actually the finish and all of the nice saltiness will go well with like Moroccan food. So I wanted a nice tangier, like remove all the smells that come out of the Moroccan food. This would be awesome to pair with all of that. The rice, the roasted chicken, and the herbs, but the spices is the saffron notes that will go amazing with it. So no one has to pay with mine. I already did it, but I hope that works out. Because I was like talking to you all, and I was just like, oh, this is the moment. I'm just gonna tell everybody this is what I want to eat with it. And now I want to go to Morocco now. So clearly we need to talk about that. But Victoria, do we still have you? Can I get into a couple of questions?
Yeah, I have another like 10 minutes.
Okay, so let me make it good. Okay, I'll save that one for after you leave. All right, I'll start with this one. We see how far this goes. Oh God. So let's talk about Rosé. How do we get more men? We have 3 men here. Sound like, are y'all fans of Rosé? Are the bros into Rosé? This is a real question.
Yes.
Can I hear y'all? Can I get an amen? Can I get a hallelujah?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Okay,
Yeah,
this is a conversation now. I need everybody unmuted. Okay, so in this case, so we got 3 strong men, right, saying that they into rosés. How do we get men? How do we get the bros into rosé? So this everybody can answer. I mean, the men can pick up from here. I usually tend to see if guys do love rosé, they're a little bit more quiet about it. They're doing it at home. Oh, this is my girlfriend's drink, you know, when it came, and then the girlfriend orders it, and they're like, oh, let me get a little sip of that, you know, so they kind of sneak it when it's at the table. But how do we get them to feel manly enough? You know, it's the same idea. Do real men wear pink kind of idea? Can they drink pink too?
Yes, I think the interesting thing is me formerly working at LVMH and working on Moet and Dom Perignon. Interestingly enough, men were the predominant drinkers and consumers of Moet de Chandon, Nectar Rosé, and even Dom Perignon Rosé.
All right, there we go. Here go the stats.
Yeah. But for some reason, when we got to sparkling, I mean, to still, it was, you know, persona non grata. But the reason for that is because the category leaders that came out early on marketed themselves as this drink for women with flowers and summer dresses and all of that good stuff. So that stuck with the brand. And then as you move on and other brands came out and it was White Girl Rosé and all of this, it's just been given this negative connotation. I shouldn't say negative, effeminate connotation across the industry. So that's one of the things that we're actively working to change, which is why we don't use flowers. We don't use pink or anything in our marketing, because we really want to bring more men in because we know we all drink it, especially because it's interesting in Europe, everybody drinks rosé. But for some reason, when you get to the States, men are like, oh, I don't drink it, or it's going to be sweet. So it's the industry did it to themselves, and now we must undo it at the same time.
Mm-hmm. All right, Can I get a female opinion on rosé?
I will say that it's interesting, actually. the first wine ever created before white and red was actually rosé. So it's the most old school historic beverage in existence. And historically as well, there are a lot of prominent male figures that made it the original rosé. Ernest Hemingway in A Farewell to Arms talks about how Tavel is the wine for men. And, kings, not just queens as well throughout history, and warriors and such. So it's only in the last 20 years it's really been associated as a female, has had those connotations. And it's funny, my book, I'm the author of it, Drink Pink, A Celebration of Rosé, but my husband did the illustrations. And when we were on our book tour, everyone thought it was the other way around, thought that I did the illustrations and that he was the writer. And I was like, oh no, actually he's the artist, and he actually owns his own rosé brand too. So he is like the picture also of rosé can be for men also. So I think it's just, educating people on what the historic origins are of it, and that, don't limit yourself. It's delicious. Everyone should have it.
I think
I think also in a quarantine space, and if there is a, heteronormative relationship where there is a woman who's influencing her man, just in the brosé sense, how do we get more people to this? I think that men like what women like, from cosmetic products to things they put on their face. Women are influencers, and we influence each other, woman to woman.
Yes,
but we also influence the men in our lives. And so I think it's kind of like going back to like champagne. Men don't drink champagne, and it's only for celebrations, and like this marketing tool for it being directed towards women. Great, we'll take it. But the thing is that I think it's going to be a natural progression, because women like it, men will also like it. And in the restaurant space, I see that happen, where if the lady at the table wants rosé, there's no real arguing against it, and they drink it and it's happy. We can go talk about all the different styles of rosé. But I think in the home space also that even if it is marketed towards women, or has been traditionally or not, men, they listening to the women in their lives, and whatever we're drinking, whatever we doing, we going to get pedicures. They getting pedicures now. Didn't want to do that before, but they see that it's something that is beneficial to their life and enrichment. And so I think not so much more women drinking rosé means more men, but the influence space of women as rosé is marketed to them will just, I think, completely permeate and reach men, and they're gonna taste something delicious, and there won't be no going back.
And you also have sports stars now coming out a lot more and saying they drink rosé as well, from LeBron James to the Strahans, the Jesse Palmers. So you're getting more men openly saying they're drinking rosé.
Yeah.
Post Malone has his own brand, so it makes other men say, "Oh, okay, it's cool." So they don't have to hide in the closet while they're drinking, the rosé, or hold the glass underneath the table, so to speak. So I think that all helps to bring more bros into the rosé space as well.
At the very beginning of Yes Rosé, when before we were getting into wine, I think the way we felt about it was that women are the primary purchasers of classically known as being driving the rosé trend at the time, which was like in 2013, and we felt it was like how beer has always been traditionally like a man's drink, and then you have women getting like so into beer and getting into the craft beer movement and all of that, and why can't rosé be like beer, and then men are following suit, and like that's how we felt it was going to go. And now like I've heard plenty of men say like they don't want to be left out. Like I've heard like them say exactly that when maybe like their challenge or that question is asked, they're like, we don't want to be left out of this. We love it. It's delicious. Like I had a bottle last night. So I think that it's, normalized, it's becoming more equal, but that also it's like a great thing that, women were like the leaders in this.
So we have a question from Angie coming in from the live stream. I'm going to read that out loud for everyone. So it says, I read an article that stated to avoid darker shades of rosé, because they tend to be inferior quality. They showed a palette of rosé shades and said only the paler shades were acceptable. And she wanted to know our thoughts. So Zwann and Victoria, I'm gonna let you guys go ahead and take that question.
Well, I think about what color means in a wine and why there is color in a wine. So if we have a direct press or a short maceration of something's a little bit leaner, a little bit fresher, it at that point is maybe there's some complexity and layers to it. But I think for the most part, it's probably going to be something that is just refreshing to cool us off in a very short, broad stroke. When we think about what goes into a rosé with more color extraction, what has happened, I think naturally you're going to get more complexity, more texture, more flavor, more soul, maybe not. But the color really has nothing to do with any of the above. So whoever wrote that piece, hopefully has come around in their education space or even their drinking space to understand that a lot of the fuller bodied, darker colored rosés, rosatos, whatever you want to call them, are very much, there's just something more in the bottle. And it's by science, and it's also what we're going to taste as a result of that. And so, I mean, I don't know, to say paler rosé, don't drink fuller body rosé, is kind of a disservice to yourself as a consumer, because when you drink something that's a little bit fuller, even from a lot of times I have to explain things as it's like a light red or a fuller bodied rosé. I know personally what they're gonna get on the palate, and it's gonna be deeper, it's gonna be more voluptuous, more complex, and probably a little more food friendly because there's some fruit and some depth that's not just acidity and austerity. So I would say, I mean, I'm definitely a champion for drink whatever the fuck you want to drink, but in the rosé space, now is the time to explore. And many people, many winemakers and producers are going, I guess, for like a longer maceration, something a little bit deeper. Even things like, I don't know, skin contact, we won't get into that, but that space, what you can get and how it can compel you is something that I think is what wine is about. There's a wine for every moment. So if you need a little short, you outside and it's hot and you just want something cold and crispy, pull that. But the darker hued rosés can be that also, but they can also kind of take you on a more soulful, deeper journey.
Yeah, Zwann, I think you did a great job summing that up. Don't limit yourself. And just something, a little insider information here. So as a sommelier and wine buyer at my restaurant Cote, we're very fortunate to have a Michelin star, and I buy millions of dollars worth of wine every single year. However, there are 3 wines that every single sommelier wine buyer in New York wants to buy every year, and they're so hard to get. These are some of the 3 most allocated rosés and wines in the world. So the first one is Lopez de Heredia's Rosado, which is not released every year. It's an aged rosé from the Rioja region, and it's delicious and amazing. The second one, in person. Yeah, really good. Yeah. And the second one is Chateau Simon, which is from Palette, which is almost a monopole within Provence. Again, really deeper hued and some barrel aging as well. Super small production. And the third one, which has achieved legendary cult status at this point, especially in the sommelier scene, is Valentini's Cerasuolo d'Abruzzo from Italy. And he's very secretive of how he makes it. But if you even can find a bottle in your lifetime, it's a mind-blowing experience. So these are 3 of the most rare, most allocated Somm catnip rosés in the world. And they're all dark. They're all dark wines. So, I think that, to Zwann's point, don't limit yourself. There are so many great rosés out there, and I love some that are light and refreshing. My all-time favorite rosé is Domaine Tempier Bandol Rosé, which I know everyone here also loves as well. But don't limit yourself. It's the same thing as if saying with white wine, darker whites like white Burgundy isn't high quality, or darker reds or lighter reds aren't high quality. So I think it's just a lack of exposure and education. But if anyone wants to come by Cote when we're reopened, I'm happy to run you through the palette of rosés. And on that note, I actually have to run to work. We're running a frosé stand all day for International Rosé Day. So I have to go, but thank you everyone for having me.
Well, it sounds like everybody after this call, go get your frosés from Cote if you're in New York City, okay? Thanks, Victoria.
Thank you, Victoria.
Can I make a toast?
Love you all.
So the question that we don't need Victoria for, but trust me, I'm sure you all have opinions. Provence versus everywhere else, okay? And I think that is interesting that we already just talked about color throughs, Angie's question in the chat. So I think that, we have 3 people in the room who literally have wine and chosen Provence as where they're going to make their rosés. Charles also have a Provence rosé to taste today. We lost Victoria, but then the rest of us have, 2 of us have champagnes, and then we have 1 from Portugal. So in that case, I understand Provence is stacked against us right now. So I just want to hear what's the idea? I just want to understand why you chose Provence to actually create a rosé brand when you could have made it any, red wine picked red grapes from anywhere and to actually make it. So why people so in love with Provence? I just want to hear everybody's honest opinion as much as possible to kind of hear if Provence should be the only place pushing rosés, meaning should we be selling, and again, I understand 3 people own a brand that's in Provence, so of course you're going to maybe say yes. But if you chose to invest in Provence, why? So I really want to understand beyond what you saw and all the lifestyle, but really what was it that was there that people need to understand about Provence that makes it special and why you decided to invest in it? Maybe this is a business question. Maybe it's something that you saw that was there. Everybody else was doing the serving and the educating and wine writing. When we talk about rosés, we have the ability to talk about anywhere. And so then why do we spend so much focus on Provence? Or do you feel like Provence is overrated? We should be talking about Italy more. Me, but that's because that's what I do. I drink a lot of Rosado. So I just want to put that out there for everyone.
You have to admire the French for the way they're able to market themselves and their AOCs in their different regions across the country. So I think people tend to think Provence is the place to be because of that marketing and the way they've been able to sell that globally. For me, it was nostalgic. It always takes me back to my very first time going to the south of France. That moment, the beauty of it being there, and then the legitimacy, because from a consumer standpoint, when you're releasing a brand, one of the first questions I get from many buyers, whether it's on or off premises, is it from Provence? Because they in turn want something they can easily sell to their customers, or that screams out to their customers on the menu for them to be able to easily recognize, and they don't have to hard sell. So I think all of those things are a reason why Provence has taken off versus other regions for rosé. But for me, those are probably the reasons why I chose rosé. First and foremost, the nostalgia of going for my very first time, the whole lifestyle around it, and then the heritage and the marketing side and legitimacy side. So.
Yeah, I think we would have a similar answer for why we started there. I think Eric and I fell in love with rosé first in trying French rosés at restaurants and rosés from Provence. And that was always like the motherland to us. And we dreamed of going there. So it was kind of a nostalgia thing. Also, they make a lot of rosé. They're already been making rosé. It's not like a new thing for them. But we love rosé from everywhere. I think that was another cool thing that Eric and I learned in just like getting into the wine world, was being able to travel to try rosés from California. We had Oregon. We've been to Portugal and to Italy, and Eric has been to Argentina. And there's delicious rosé everywhere. I think for us as a starting point with Provence, that's just like, that was like our first taste of rosé.
So before I even ask anybody that's not, who don't have a wine brand, which is the rest of us, what would be your, let's just say, you all have your Provence style already. So now, where would you open up your next label if you had to pick a different country, not France? Where would it be for rosé? Remember, you still got to keep the rosé.
I would probably say Italian Rosada. I do enjoy those a lot.
Okay.
Maybe somewhere US, California, or New York, where we're from. I mean, live until recently. You know, maybe somewhere more local.
Okay. All right. I just want to, you know, and I just wanted to kind of hear, or I want other people to hear when they replay this, et cetera. It's kind of like, if you remove now, because you already checked the box, I got the official stamp, the Provence style rosé in my portfolio. So now if you're making a new rosé, you're saying you even do one in New York, and now we're talking about one in Italy. So people need to understand, lipstick aside now, when people know you, now you don't have to prove anything, right? Because that's what you said, right? To the market, you have to prove you're making a legitimate rosé brand. So putting a rosé style out, that's the homeland to many about rosés. So, okay, we get it. And then now you can kind of like flex your wings a bit. And we're talking about one that's local and then one that's in Italy. So tell people to be on the lookout for wines that's from that area, because that means you must also respect wines from there. So just wanted to throw that mode in there. Anybody else want to talk about Provence versus everywhere else? Okay, go ahead.
So in my research for my book, my new rosé book, Maneuvering Rosé Wine with Style, I had to, one of my main thesis was to talk about the whole world of rosé. And we have to think about too, the market is driven by Provence, and Provence carries all of France when it comes to rosé. So if you think about, we had a record year, 2018, they made about, the whole world of rosé made about 26 million hectoliters of rosé. So that's almost like 400 million bottles of rosé across the world. Provence makes the lion's share of that. So that leads the market in itself. So it's going to be everywhere. But in my book, I want people to learn about rosé, but also not get trapped in the sea of sameness, because there's also winemakers around the world that are trying to now make a rosé like a Provence style to compare with that really light pale pink style. So they get this kind of confusion in the marketplace where people are starting to shop for color as opposed to region, and we lose the terroir in that as well. So my whole book is all about understanding the rosé phenomenon, but also understanding the different styles of rosé for you personally. So like we talked about the darker rosés, like this week I had a Vino Verde rosé, I had Love Drunk, I'm drinking rosés around the world this week. I just so happened to substitute the Provence, but tonight I'm going to be drinking Love Drunk for a different seminar. But for each situation can carry on a different rosé. If you have like grilled chicken for the barbecue or something, a deeper, darker rosada from Spain or Italy, or even Portugal would be great. So it really depends. It's kind of circumstantial, but also on your palate. Those richer, creamier, darker rosés are very lovely and lush. You know, some people don't like high acid. Some people like more moderate, medium acid. So those darker rosés, deeper rosés are a lot more attractive that way. So I just want people to not get trapped in the sea of sameness. And Provence is amazing. But in my book, I also ask questions. What will happen? When will this rosé bubble bust? And when will Provence no longer be the region? Because they're almost tapped out with land. You know, you can only have so much land to produce wine. Then they talked about, you know, turning into sparkling wines to kind of pull, you know, to carry on some of that terroir in different in the grapes to carry them forward. So this wine world is always changing and evolving. So what will happen if we didn't have Provence anymore? So that's a big question to ask as well.
Anybody else before I ask the next question?
I must say I just pulled two, and Greece.
I was gonna say one of my favorite rosés I've ever had.
Rosé wines, super cool. This is the Ferlani. These are just things I was like, what do we have? Ferlani, you probably have seen from Trento, Matteo Ferlani, but again, the color nice and dark, but there's a little bit of spumante on here. Delicious, regardless. Again, as Victoria said, you can put it in a black glass and you're gonna enjoy this. But also the Grecians and the Georgians also. are not people that necessarily have been rosé producers, Georgia specifically, the country of Georgia. But out of these warm, hot climate places, you get something that goes with heat, which is what people kind of associate rosé to, although we know it is year round. But I just wanted to like share those two as just, you know, alternatives. It's like there's so much rosé. There's so much. And people who don't even make rosé, like the Jordans, are now making rosé because it is an abundant space of, you know, sales. So Grecian rosé, rosatos from Italy, all the things. It's like, if you don't drink Provençal rosé, you're probably moving in the right direction. Because they good.
There we go.
That's all I'm saying about that.
So this is almost like a part B to this question, and it really ties into what Charles was saying about the sparkling. So I don't know how many of you know, and it's funny that Victoria's gone too, is because this year, the great northern region of Italy has decided to allow Prosecco to add Pinot Noir to their allowable varietals. So for those of you who are watching, for those of you who are in this chat and didn't know that, Prosecco's coming for you. So if you really thought you was gonna really take over this market share, and you thought, listen, the most sales in sparkling wine is Prosecco. Forget champagne, forget anybody. No one can afford champagne every day. So Prosecco is the most consumed sparkling across the world. So if they are now allowing Pinot Noir to the Glera, if you didn't know, is the grape allowed for Prosecco, imagine the places they'll go. So just rosé, Prosecco coming to you live in 2021. I'm waiting for all the reactions right now. Are we excited? Are we sad? What's gonna happen here?
I love it. I think it's because
Let's drink it.
yeah, I mean, for a long time,
Like that. There we go, for sure.
for a long time, it was just we had to say that it was a Rosato Spumante. You know, we couldn't say Prosecco because it wasn't legal to do that. And I think it just gives a legitimacy to call it Rosé Prosecco now. And because they've been high quality, we've enjoyed them for a long time. So I think it's actually about time. I'm glad they're moving in that right direction too, to legitimize rosé in a larger term.
Right.
I think
once they put Prosecco on it and it's pink, gone.
Yeah.
Shelves we would have to like control the inventory at that point. It would be allocated, I'm sure.
And I think to that point, when Charles talked earlier about what will happen when Provence is no longer the it thing, this is going to be the knife in the heart of champagne. I am, and not in the sense of like in the wine world, but it's from the consumer standpoint, because Prosecco was already beginning to eat their lunch and was grabbing share of wine lists, and so it's going to cannabis champagne even more, in my opinion.
I think it also speaks to the longevity of rosé, you know, when people are like, it's this trend, when is that going to die out? And like the Italians are being like, we haven't even gotten started yet. So it's like, that's, something that is comforting to know that like, this is the new, it's a new normal. It's not this, it's the red, white, rosé and, champagne or bubbles, and there's like
We're pushing orange.
and orange. No, that orange is still like working its way up.
Yeah. Don't worry, I'm saying, but we remember, we're the ones on the floor. We're the ones talking to the people. So we're the ones pushing orange. I'm telling you what we do. Yeah. You don't know how many times I've explained orange wine over the course of 1 month in virtual tastings. I'm almost like, I just feel like I need to just do a whole thing. But shout out to people like Doreen, but go ahead. I'm sorry. I just wanted to let you know that orange is going to be the new wave after rosé for sure.
Yeah, I think there's just like more room on the shelves than just like the 3 kinds, or 2 kinds that are offered. And that's, awesome. So excited to get involved with some Rosé Prosecco.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds like people are open to it. All right. This is the professionals. They're open to it.
Why not?
Now, it'd be interesting if they're going to do just like all Pinot Noir, or if the producers are going to do because I've never had Glera, which is again the grape of Prosecco. with a mix of Pinot Noir with anything else. I've only had Glera by itself. So with it being Prosecco and being unique to its name, I think seeing if it's going to actually be a good mix, the Pinot Noir with the Glera, I think that's going to be.
So the Bassianisch group, they make a Rosada Spumante, and they use 90% Glera and 10% Pinot Nero. So
Okay.
yeah, and it's really delicious. Yeah.
There we go. All right. So I think Charles is going to make sure we all know who that is so that we can plaster that. Because this is basically, again, the idea is that what we're trying to say is that it's not that it's impossible, it's not being made right now, it's just not being marketed as Prosecco.
Right.
And so you're not usually, as a consumer, going to the market and looking like, if someone showed you Proseccos, there would be no rosé options. However, in the Spumante section, there would be a rosé that's from Italy. And so therefore you wouldn't know or choose that one because you're like, oh no, I'll just take the Prosecco. So it's not like it's never been made. It's just more about now the fact that it's going to have that defined name of Prosecco on top of it. So now we'll be able to serve you rosé Prosecco officially as of 2021. So, all right. And this is going to be my last question. I'm glad to hear everyone's excited. And I wish I heard Victoria's response on this one, but we have to come back to her. And I don't know if you know, I'm famous for giving out money. I'm everybody's Oprah. I'm like the wine Oprah, okay? There go Filipe. That's Filipe's cue to do the make it rain. He does that every time. And so in this case, I am giving you all cash, okay? And you're gonna fly this entire group anywhere in the world to enjoy the wine that you're tasting. Tell us where we're going and why. So I need a full experience description. You're tasting Rita's champagne. Where are you taking the group? This is your trip. We're going on my private jet because I'm flying us wherever you want, Zwann. Where are we enjoying Rita's champagne, rosé champagne with you?
Anywhere in the world, not in Champagne? Okay.
You're taking Rita's champagne and we're gonna have a case of it or more, right? And we're gonna enjoy it with you. Where are we going to drink Rita's wine?
Again, Greece is a big part of my life. And so I'm gonna say we're gonna go to Greece and have a whole tour. My roommate, dear friend, my brother, my love is Aris. He has Eclecticon, which is a Greek natural wine portfolio. And when we were there in Greece, it was rosé made perfect sense. So did Chiparo, which is the spirit. You throw a little water in there, it gives you a little like chartreuse, anise with water feel, but it's all the things that make you feel good. And you have beautiful beaches and fried little fish and sardines and heavier foods or lighter foods, but we would drink La Caravelle Champagne in Greece with
all right, everybody
leading the way to all the places. We would road trip it, spend a couple days, just like we did in the wine trip. It was so illuminating, but rosé makes perfect sense in that space. And so off the cuff, I'm going to say Greece for sure.
Hey, thank you for that. And I feel like I was there already, so I want it. Who else want to go to Greece? Who's coming on this wine trip? All right, we got 1, 2, everybody's coming.
In the sad story, I was supposed to go to Greece on Monday.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, now you just made us all sad.
Next year.
Next year.
With Zwann and her roommate and having that whole moment.
Yes,
definitely. All right, who else is taking us on a trip with their wine?
Definitely south of France. I think, rent a house, take day trips every day, like long lunches, in different small little villages.
You have one off the top of your mind.
Check out some of the, like look at art, go to museums. Like there's so much to do there, which is, you can like be lazy and not do anything, but then there's so much culture. And
everything's so close together. I think we really did it right last year where we flew into Marseille and then we flew out from Nice. So we just like drove across and wandered our way across and stopped in different towns. Saw so many different, climates just within that journey. And then basically you end up on the beach and then
you go home.
had a great time.
I love that. And you already know the traveler in me. If you don't know anything, you know I'm serious about where I'm landing, where I'm leaving from, what I'm eating, who we hanging out with. I'm very particular. So yeah, I love hearing that kind of itinerary. We're starting from Marseille, or the other way around, Marseille, and we're going up to Nice. So don't worry, we'll hit Saint-Tropez. So we could the high five with Donae on the way. Hey Donae, how you doing?
Very
Check on his grapes.
Yeah. So for
Who
me,
else? Who else?
to piggyback off of the trip in Provence or south of France, I would so I want to think like let's paint and sip. Let's be like Picasso's. Let's go fish. Let's eat. Let's make homemade aioli. Let's play that French bocce ball or whatever they call it. I forget what it's called. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
What is it called?
Pétanque. Yeah. So let's do all those different things that the Provençal people do. And yeah, let's hit it up in Saint-Tropez. Let's walk the English promenade.
Let's get a yacht. Nobody asked about that yacht. I want a yacht.
I think that's Donae's territory.
I want that yacht. Come on now. Call up P. Diddy.
Party on Donae yacht.
Oh, Donae got the yacht? Oh.
Well, if you come to the south of France with me, I'm gonna let us ball out a little bit because that's what you have to do.
Well,
We're gonna have
already.
water, Hotel du Cap, then we'll take our tender out to the boat. We'll cruise over to lunch at a couple of the restaurants on the hillside, come back at night to Antibes, chill at the villa. That's how you can roll with me, because if I'm gonna take you there first, we're gonna ball out, and then we can do everything else the next day.
Sign me up.
We go. What we want to do is call on sponsors
and not have the response. Like you made the call, we all got the answer.
We definitely, what is it? Vin de Provence, right? Hello, if you're listening, we need this covered. The gang is about, it's me plus 7. So I can't leave out Victoria. So we gotta, it's enough of us. We need to make sure everybody's covered. I'm down for this. I want this whole P. Diddy lifestyle for sure. Harlem in me, I gotta feel like I'm in my Diddy life when I'm in Saint-Tropez, okay?
We gotta
so
bring
who else?
Rosé. That's Greek.
Yeah. She is with the damn Rosé. Rosés.
That's a shout out to the Greeks. They like, no.
The Rosés. I never even heard. It's not Jesus, but Rosés.
Hey, we're talking about this too. Like we just really proud Portuguese, Georgians, Grecians of just being like, this was us.
If we don't do Rosé, we do Rosés.
Because we've never seen this, but that's the name of it.
Can somebody draw me a gift if you listening? I want the, I pray to Rosés, not Jesus.
The God, the Rosé God. From the
I need him. I need to make sure there's something creative for this, please. So, all right. So I just had 4 people just all jump in on this whole Provence trip. So you just saved me 4 checks. I'm just gonna spend one and just pay for all of those things. So I'm going to Greece. I'm going to south of France. Philippe, where are we going? Don't tell me we're going to Provence. You got to come up with something else.
No. We are going to a magical place. We are all going to Mozambique, to a small fisherman town called Tofu. It's very small, a few expats, a few surfers coming in and out, a lot of lobsters, a lot of tiger prawns there. I'm seeing the Indic Ocean, I'm seeing sunset, I'm seeing us all on the beach, drinking my nice rosé and eating some lobster. So, magical place. You must Google it, Tofu, Mozambique.
All right, we coming with you.
He's a poet.
Filipe is the poet for real.
Every time you speak, I'm like,
The wine helps.
The wine.
Yes.
And Filipe, you can tell the Portuguese guy let out of quarantine a little bit earlier. So his skin, he's actually looking a little bit more like me. Over the quarantine, it's getting a little bit more color. So now he's sending us to Africa. I love it. But yeah, Mozambique, the beaches are phenomenal. It is on my bucket list. I can't wait to go with y'all. It's gonna be lit, as the kids say. It's gonna be lit. So I can't wait to have the rosé there. I did speak about Morocco earlier, and I think the moment of I've been in Morocco, and I think that bringing wine culture to Moroccan food or African food. In this case, Mozambique is at the bottom, and on the it's like if you took a diagonal actually went like this. So in Morocco being at the top, the spices, the saffron, the desert life, just having a nice ice cold rosé in the desert. I think this is going to be on a camel. Y'all see that? We're gonna look fly. It's gonna be a miraculous moment. And I can't wait to have that experience with you all. The food there is awesome. And anything they make in this Tangier, they lift it up. I want fish, I want chicken, I want lamb. Give me what you got. Anything that's coming out of there is gonna be awesome. And so, figs, dates in the background, you can smell it. That's why I love Morocco, is because the spices, when you're just walking through the market, and in this wine specifically, you can smell the spices of it too. It's so fresh. And so that's why it took me there. And that's why it was even easier to come up with this question for you all to share this experience. So thank you all for being here. That was my last question. I hope you all enjoyed yourselves.
Thank you
I
so
hope
much.
you learned something new about rosé from each other, as well as some place to go, whether we're all going to Mozambique now. And I'm going. So we love to do a final cheers at the end, and just to wrap up, to say that, thank you, Filipe, again for, working with me for the past 13 weeks now of keeping this constantly going. A sister need a break, so you will not have a 14th week. I'm letting you know that right now. That doesn't mean that this is the end of the journey, but we're going to be more stagnant, so you can catch us in July. We're doing the next one and coming up with content for then. But in this case, this is the last of our consecutive week moment. I need a breath. I need to take a breather on Saturdays. And I appreciate you all joining in. And to all those panelists or tasters or professionals who joined me over the past 13 weeks, I just want to give a shout out for all of you, because we've been together from the beginning of COVID in the pandemic. And I'm sure life has felt different, and I hope that we've brought some bit of joy and connection to all of you during this time. So all, I guess, my wine community from China, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, the Netherlands, Italy, Spain, Germany. Did I say Austria? Austria. Who else we had? We had the team in New York that came in for the South America tasting. Those in California to represent for Napa Valley and Sonoma. And everywhere in between, if I missed you, in London, of course, in London. And of course, Portugal. Filipe will always be our resident Portuguese with anybody else. So thank you all for being part of the program. Can't wait to come back with fresh content for next month, for July. And yeah, thank you all. It's been great. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Nice to talk to you all.
Cheers.
Let's take a picture.
Oh, he wants to take a picture.
Use
the bottle. Donae, don't use that glass.
Donae, that will
I
work.
pretty much got the bottle of champagne. I'm like,
Okay, here we go. And 2. Great. Thank you.
Oh, take another one. She right. Take a bottle. Use the bottle, because I want to be able to get the bottle.
it was even the bottle that I poured, but for my Greek brothers, sisters.
Okay, just a second, please.
Make sure my hand is looking at it.
Okay, just another one. 1 second. Okay, I'm just saving.
He's like, just saving. We don't want to lose the first one.
Okay, here we go.
Ready?
Fantastic. Thank you.
Cheers to everyone that's celebrating Rosé Day live with us on YouTube. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.